Hello everybody, today we're going to look from the Heptarchy to the Normans, the continuation of the last video. So in this portion, we are going to look what happened after Anglo-Saxons arrived England or English coast. So these Anglo-Saxons were very much successful in driving off the Picts and Scot tribal group who were attacking England from the other part of the island, and they were also successful in driving off the Celtic group or the original settlers of England to the mountains of Wales and Ireland and other part of the country. So they got over the central part and they divided it among themselves. So they formed states among themselves, and this was called Heptarchy since it is formed of the five kingdoms. And these five kingdoms are Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Wessex, and Kent. So this is the early map of England. So this is where the grey color part of it is where the Anglo-Saxons got it. So these is occupied by the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, while the greenish part is where the original settlers were living when the Anglo-Saxons came up, because they were driven off from their own land. Now, with the emerging of Anglo-Saxons, even the language started flourishing, and there were mainly four major dialects. In terms of the language, these four main dialects were growing up. So these four main dialects are the Northumbrian, Mercian, Kentish, and West Saxon. Now the Northumbrian one was the first formed language and the first to produce its own literature. And this is where the poetry flourished, while the West Sussex Saxon became supreme due to the political supremacy. All external texts were preserved in this language, while this is also the language of King Alfred, who was one among the successful king of at that point of time, and prose also flourished in this language. The King Alfred, so this is one of the politically supreme king of that point of time, Alfred the Great. So he was the king of Wessex. He ruled from 1871 to 1899. So he was having political supremacy on the rest of the Anglo-Saxon tribe or the rest of the Heptarchy. So he led the British army against the Viking invasion, who invaded twice, that is, once in 1787. They raided in the East Anglia, while in 1866 in the Wessex. He united all the nations of England against the Viking, and he was also successful in driving them off from the land of England. Now, after the Viking invasion happened, the Danes came up. So, England was invaded by the Danes in 1876, immediately after the Viking invasion or the second raid of the Vikings happened. They were the tribes from Denmark and Norway. So, from 1003 to 1013, many invasions were there on England. The Dane law was introduced in the land owned by them. Half of the England was occupied by them, and their successors were not that worthy enough that they entered up their rule in 1066, that is 1066. So if you look at the map of England at that point of time, this is where Danes occupied, and so we can see that the earlier part when the Anglo-Saxons occupied, half of the land was also gone, the Northumbrian part and all. So this is where the Danes occupied, and this is the area where the Dane law was made into action. Now, the end of the Anglo-Saxon age. So, the Anglo-Saxon age had a very good impact in the birth of English language, because they were much active in terms of literature. You can see that other than the Celtic age or other than the Roman invasion time, the Anglo-Saxons were one of them who had their own language emerging. They were having actually four dialects. Now, in 1066 AD, the Battle of Stratford, the where the England successfully defeated the invading Norwegian army. So these battles were led by the Danes king. The success was quite short-lived, as only 3 weeks, because within less than 3 weeks there was an attack by the Normans from which England was quite unprepared. So, thus this battle of Hastings, England got defeated by the Normans. So, the last battle where the Normans got themselves victorious is called the Battle of Hastings. So, even though the England was very much successful in driving off the Norwegian army, they were not enough successful in driving off the Normans because they were themselves not prepared. They didn't imagine. And more of that, the Normans are somebody who was living much closer to the England island or the English island rather than the Norway or the Viking invasion or other group. So the Normans conquered under the king William the Conqueror in 1066 AD. So William the Normandy arrived in Kent, that is Hastings, from Normandy in France. He defeated Harold Godwinson, the King of England, the then King of England. So this is where the France is. This is Normandy. So this is where William the Normandy came. He went from this cause to the other cause. This is Hastings. So they were much successful in attacking them, because if you look at where Angles and Saxons and Jutes came up, they had a wide travel in the sea. While if you look at how William the Normandy came up, he has there is only a very small area between France and England as far as sea is concerned. So they were much successful in attacking England and taking it over. So thank you.